patent cross Steampunk to start doing stuff with 40K. So you'll see some 40K stuff, you'll see some regular science fiction stuff, you'll see some steampunk stuff, you'll see some stuff that I just did for silliness. And if you're going to the T, you will also see some of the stuff that I've done there for the T as well. I don't know where the plug is. There it is. Many of you know me. My name is Ahrendt. I've been doing 3D printing probably now for a year and a half, maybe a little longer. Hold on one second while I get this up and running. I started out initially, I attended a panel here at AnachroCon a couple of years ago that was put on about using the effect of technology using 3D printers, laser printers, or not laser printers, laser cutters, CNC routers, and stuff like that. My initial reaction was, why the hell would I ever want to do that? Okay? I'm a maker, I don't need to do that. Okay? I can build it out of brass, I can build it out of whatever. Why would I want to do something out of plastic? Okay? And I'll tell you why you want to do it out of plastic. Because there's going to be cases where you're not going to have the piece. You're not going to be able to find the piece. Okay? It just doesn't exist except in your head. Okay? So the only way you're going to be able to do some of this stuff is you're going to have to use a 3D printer. You're going to have to use a CNC router. You're going to have to use various and sundry different tools to do what you want to do. Because you're going to grow as you go along, and you're going to learn, and you're going to want to be able to do more and more and more and more. Okay? Or at least I found myself to do that. I know Stephen has done that with several of his things, where because we talk back and forth. We talk on Facebook, that sort of stuff. And we kind of play, all of us that are in the maker community, at least some of us, I would say a good portion of us, basically play off of each other and try to help each other. And, well, does this work? Well, no, this doesn't work. Let me try this, sort of thing. Okay? So, well, I tried to bring this up while I was deciding to not sleep. I've been a maker probably for about 8 years, I guess now.
I've known you for 8 years.
Okay.
So you've been doing this for 9 to 10 years.
I'm old.
You
Started
helped
off.
me put together the Steampunk baby stroller.
That's right. Okay. So I've been doing this a while. I started off mainly doing metalwork and woodwork. I still do metalwork. I still do woodwork. I've just added more tools, and that's all a 3D printer, or all a laser cutter, or all a CNC is. It's just another tool in your toolbox. Okay. It's not going to replace all your other stuff. It's not something out of Star Trek that you just say, give me Earl Grey hot. It doesn't work that way. Okay? I generate more waste with my printer than I do with my metalworking. Okay? I have a huge trash can of failed prints, and there's different types of failed prints. Okay? And I'll show you some of those. Give me 1 second while I bring up the presentation.
This is turned on.
Projection? I'm bringing it up now. I've connected it, so hope.
Want me to tap dance while you work on that?
Yeah. I've been kind of tap dancing a little bit.
Okay.
So how's everybody doing?
So my name is Brett King. I'm a steampunk maker. I have a broad variety of semi-useful skills for prop making. Not real deep on any one of them. I kind of, as I need a skill, I develop it as I go. we're here today to talk about 3D printing and laser cutting and maybe dabble in some other CNC kind of topics. So this is something that I picked up. We had I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. We had a local tech shop. I don't know if they have one near where you live or something similar, Makerspace.
Makerspace.
Yeah, but they're great resources for getting access to equipment that most people can't usually afford to have in their home, such as laser cutters, CNC machines, 3D printers. You know, they usually have 3D printers. That's something that's become much more affordable in the last few years. They keep, you know, coming down, and now they sell them at Home Depot and Radio Shack and you know, places that you wouldn't normally expect to find a 3D printer. So they're becoming much more accessible and consumable. But makerspaces are a great place to start if you don't want to just walk into Home Depot and, you know, drop $600 on a device that you don't know how to use and don't know if it's going to, you know, work for you. So makerspace is a good place to start to talk to somebody that's used them before and can give you the tips and tricks with them.
There we go.
Excellent.
Steampunk finish.
So I've talked to lots of people with 3D printers and have, you know, been to classes and things. I haven't used one, so Chris is going to talk about the 3D printing, and I'm going to talk about laser cutting, which is what I used at our local tech shop. And so let me know whenever you're ready.
Could we give a show of hands how many people actually have?
Yeah, how many people here have a 3D
I've
or have
built
access?
4, but I don't have one anymore.
Well, how many people have access at least to one? Does everybody know what a 3D printer is and what it does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, we
you can
gotta
say
know. We gotta know. Okay, a 3D printer is also known as additive manufacturing. What it does is it has, I bring a spool, no, it's upstairs. You get spools of plastic, okay? And I'll go into what types of plastic there are. They typically, unless you buy a proprietary machine, and there's ways in proprietary machines to get non-proprietary stuff, but we'll get a kilogram of plastic. Now there's two different types of plastic, two primary types of plastic, okay? There's multiple different types of plastic out there, but there's two primary that you're going to hear about. Okay, let me bring this up and we'll get into it here. So again, my name is Chris Ahrendt. Like I said, I've been doing 3D printing on my printer for about a year and a half, maybe, give or take, okay? So this is 3D printing, a presentation I set up, okay? Believe it or not, this outfit was 3D printed on a 3D printer, okay? This was done for Felicia Day, okay? A whole outfit, complete top, bottom, weapon, helmet, tiara, the whole thing was 3D printed, okay? So 3D printing is an additive manufacturing process. What do I mean by additive? Is it takes that plastic and it has an extruder, like a glue gun, okay? You know how you can make sculptures? A friend of mine, Joey Marsconi, makes sculptures out of glue gun. Well, it's the same sort of process. You're just adding plastic in layers, okay, on a particular thing. And it will print layer by layer, okay? The technology in the 3D printer is no different than one that's in a CNC printer or a CNC cutter, okay? Except you add a Z-axis to the print, okay? Instead of it just being an XY sort of thing that you have in a regular like laser cutter or a plasma cutter, you also add a height to that, okay? PC Magazine just recently said, cosplay, costume, and props design are about to go far beyond the humble needle and thread thanks to 3D printing. I truly believe this, okay? I have noticed in my cosplay and in my costuming and in my tinkering that I've now been able to have ideas and do ideas that I have never been able to do before, okay? Again, it's just another tool that you can use in your toolbox, okay? So you can use 3D printing to create some truly amazing costumes. And here is Felicia Day in her amazing costume. Okay? So, printer technology. Okay? There are several different types. Well, there's there's three primary types of 3D printers out there, and depending upon which one it is, prices go up, okay? So we've got fused filament fabrication, okay? These are the most common at-home printers that are available, okay? They do layers and layers and layers and layers of plastic, okay? They extrude it out on your bed and go up, extrude the next layer, go up, next, etc. You then have selective layer sintering, okay? These are mainly industrial level machines. They're multiples of thousands of dollars. They start out at about $30,000 and go up from there. These are the ones that Ford and GE use to make jet plane engines, cars, etc. Okay? Stereolithographic printers. These are the high-end personal at-home printers. Okay? They use resin and they use either UV light to cure the resin, or they use some sort of curative process, again, to do layer by layer by layer, okay? These tend to be about $1,500 upwards, okay? There's a new one out, I forget the name of it, it's about $1,200, but again, these are messy as hell, okay?
Yes, when you have something go wrong, you have a chance of ruining the entire basin.
Yep, because it's literally printing on the basin. Your platform is not a platform that's actually part of the thing. It is the actual basin where your resin sits, and it will go through and it'll cure the resin, pop that resin off the bottom, cure the next level, pop it off. So if it goes wrong, it could rip that basin and all that resin could go out all over your desktop or wherever you have it stored. And it is a mess to clean up, okay? These personally, my personal opinion on these are not ready for typical prime time as of yet, okay? They're really cool. They've got a lot of good high-res stuff to do because the layer height is really, really, really fine, but I don't think they're really ready for prime time for a typical cosplay.
They do very fine detail. And when I say fine detail, these are what people are using to make blanks of the ball jointed dolls with now.
Exactly.
To send off to Asia to have manufactured.
Be able to manufacture, okay?
Now, these are a lot slower, and when I say a lot slower, for a doll head to be printed in a resin bath, it takes somewhere between 8 to 38 hours. It depends on the
This is
detail
not
you're
a
using.
fast process in any shape of the imagination.
Keep in mind, a doll head is no bigger than your fist.
Okay, I'll talk about some of these prints that I did here on my fused filament fabrication machine that I've got at home. Some of these were 8, 24, or the helmet on the very end was about 80 hours of print time. Okay? Again, like I said, SLA, my personal opinion is it's not ready for prime time. Okay? So I've talked about the different types of printers that are out there. What should I get in a printer, okay? It literally comes down to what can you afford, okay? But there are some things that if you don't want to spend the money on them, that you can go and use 3D printers, okay? You can send off via email your models that you come up with. You don't necessarily have to buy these things. You can go to Shapeways, upload your shape, and you'll get within however many days it takes them to build your process, you'll get a finished model in the mail. Now that model, helmet, I have a friend that's in Seattle that won Dragon Con Best Costume at the aquarium side. He beat out RJ this year. He did a helmet for one of his cosplays and it was over $200. So keep that in mind if you're gonna send some of this stuff off. It can get pricey, okay? There's professional services, I've mentioned Shapeways, there's also private, and there's a place called Hub 3D where you can go to a local, where you send it in, and you've got bids, where and I participate in it, where you can have that local person print it out, and you can either go pick it up yourself or they'll mail it to you. The Hub 3D is typically a little bit cheaper because you're dealing with a local person as opposed to professional stuff. But again, the quality is not going to be as much as, say, a professional one. Now, the professional ones you can get in all sorts of different types of finishes and types of materials, from metal to plastic to wood to plastic, metal, wood, concrete, etc. Versus a private person, you're probably going to be limited to what you can find basically off the shelf with a printer film. Okay, some of them you can do metal, some of them can't. Okay, you can also look at local makerspaces. I'm a really big believer in makerspaces, and I believe in supporting them because that allows you to have access to bigger and better tools that you might not necessarily have the amount of money for. A lot of times your local library, believe it or not, is starting to get into doing 3D manufacturing. Believe it or not, you can do that, okay? Local schools, such as colleges, high schools, are also getting involved in that. Friends, I'm sure you got friends here that either on Facebook or local friends that have access to a 3D printer. So it's getting to the point where you can actually you can get it, if you don't have access to it, you can get that information, okay? But the one thing, if you decide and commit to buying a printer, is make sure that you can get the largest bed that you can afford, okay? The larger the bed, the bigger the print that you can do. Because of my bed size, that helmet that I'll talk about in a second is comprised of probably 9 pieces that I had to fuse well together, okay? Yes, sir.
Just for an example, bed size, like
Bed size, typically my bed size on mine is 8 by 8 by 8, okay? Typically it's in millimeters, so it's like 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters, okay? They make printers out there that are good introductory printers that are between $100 and $150 to $300, that their bed size are about the size of a coaster, okay?
4 inches.
Yeah, 4 inches square.
make
And that's
gadgets
big.
then,
Huh?
to make gadgets.
To make gadgets. I mean, it's a good introductory. It's a MakerBot Mini, I think is the name of it, or something like. Or
There's
one from
XYZ Printing has a
Well, I've got
350
I've got a redone. I've got a hacked XYZ, and mine is 8 by 8 by 8. So, but I don't have the Pro. I've got the 1A, and then they've got
Yeah.
the Junior, which is the Junior is a very specific PLA printer that has an even smaller bed. But again, get the biggest bed you can afford, okay? Doesn't mean you have to have a 12 by 12 by 12, okay? But the more bed size you have, the less work you're gonna have to do on the back end, okay? Know what materials, another important thing is know what you wanna print, okay? There are exotic materials that are out there, the metals, the woods. All of those exotic materials require special hardware on the machines for a lot of places. You've got glow-in-the-dark thing. If you've got a typical, like my Da Vinci, I can't print metal, I can't print glow-in-the-dark stuff, simply because the extruder head on it, the thing that puts the plastic onto the plate, is brass. And if I put metal through, or if I put glow-in-the-dark filament through, the way that the filament is made will cause that filament head to start scoring, and it will eventually cause that filament head to open up, and instead of being a 0.4 millimeter deposit rate, it will be 8, 12, 14, however big it wants to get. Okay, so it will erode that head. So if you want to do things like metals, you want to do things like wood, you want to do things like glow in the dark, you're going to want to make sure that it is stainless steel head. Now, stainless steel head is probably going to cost you a little more. You can also get replacement heads. Forget the name of the company, but there are. If you go out and look for a stainless steel head extruder, you'll be able to then print those sorts of things. Now, there's some printers that do actually come with that already. Okay. Flexible materials are a little different than even the exotic materials. Flexible materials, by the way, require a complete head, a complete extruder assembly, because of the way they work. They'll stretch. So if you're putting that through a typical machine like a Da Vinci, the Da Vinci does not have a Bowden extruder. Now, a Bowden extruder has a motor on top and a motor next to the extruder that will pull that flexible material in. If you only have one set of motors pulling that, the material will stretch, and eventually it'll break and it'll gum up the inside of your extruder. So again, know your materials, know what you're going to print, okay? You're going to be printing in ABS. I print a lot in ABS because it's easy, because I can use acetone to do my welding and my fusing. You're gonna want a heated bed. What a heated bed provides you to be able to do is it adheres the plastic to the bed, it keeps it solid, it keeps it from being from warping, because ABS tends to have a warping problem, okay? You wanna make sure that if you're gonna be printing in ABS, you wanna make sure that that enclosure is or your printer is enclosed. A lot of printers, like Stevens, I know, has an open framework that he prints with on his. So Steven is gonna have to build, and when Steven starts going to work with ABS, I've even told him to make sure that it is completely enclosed. You wanna keep that environment that plastic is in as warm as possible.
I'm still concerned about the fans that are mounted on the extruder head.
Exactly, well, you're gonna have a catch-22,
Yeah.
okay? Okay, so you've heard me talk a little bit about the materials that are available, okay? ABS and PLA are probably the primary plastics that are available out there. There are different types, but these are pretty much the standards in the industry of what people use. With ABS is just Legos. Think Legos, okay? Everybody stepped in Legos in the middle of the night if you have kids, okay? ABS tends to be very, very durable. You can smash it, you can crunch it, you can punch it, okay? I prefer printing in ABS. The problem with ABS is it's petroleum-based, and it will smell, okay? To me, it's not an unpleasant smell. It's like warm, almost burning, that smell you get if you burn plastic, and I'm sure if you've done anything with a soldering iron, you've smelled burning plastic. It's that point where it's that kind of smell before it turns into that really nasty burnt plastic smell. To me, it doesn't bother me. Some people it does, okay? It's not the most healthy thing to be breathing constantly, so you want to make sure that wherever you're printing either of these filaments, or any of these filaments, you want to make sure that it's in a well-ventilated place, okay? So, with ABS, you can get conductive, you can get glow in the dark, you can get fluorescent, you can get temperature color changing, so as it gets warm, it changes one color to the other, okay? Those typically are what ABS provides, okay? None of the exotic filaments, I have yet to find an exotic filament that is an ABS, that is a metal, a wood. Those typically tend to be PLA. And PLA is a biodegradable plastic. It's made out of tapioca roots. It's made out of cane sugar. It's literally stuff that you can throw in a trash compactor and it won't be there for 1,000 years after you're done with it, okay? PLA has many different colors. Again, same as these. You're going to have your choice of colors: black, red, green, yellow. I mean, there's as many colors of the rainbow. You can get both of these in those colors. Okay. PLA though has more specialty filaments that are available. So you've got conductive items, you've got glow in the dark, you've got fluorescent, you've got again temperature color changing. You've got your various metals: brass, bronze, iron, steel, etc. You've got wood. You've also got carbon fiber as well. So if you want to print carbon fiber, you can get that in PLA.
So it does for two different printers, or can you use both?
I have both. I do both of these. The only thing I don't print on mine, because I haven't replaced the extruder head on mine, is I don't do any of the exotics, like the woods, the metals, and that sort of stuff, because I don't want to ruin my extruder head.
It's good to point out, the cheaper printers you get that are about $300 to $500 will usually only do PLA because ABS requires a heated bed.
Yeah.
PLA is also very forgiving.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the warping problem that ABS does.
The only problem with PLA, one second, and I'll get right to you, I promise. Okay? The only problem that I have with PLA is very brittle, very fragile. So I prefer, this is my preference, to do my cosplay work in ABS. Because like I said, if you've ever stepped on a Lego in the middle of the night, you know you can step on a Lego and it ain't gonna crush. If you had a Lego made out of PLA, more than likely you'd have PLA chips all over on your floor. Yes, ma'am.
So, how difficult is it to like get another extruder head? Is that the kind of thing where you basically
You can go to eBay and they're like $20, $30.
Okay, so it's not a terrible burden to like have an extruder head for like an exotic material, assuming that your printer would like to use
Typically,
it?
I mean,
Or is
the
that-
only reason why I haven't done it on my DaVinci is because the extruder heads for the DaVinci are a little different. I have to physically replace my whole assembly.
Okay, so it depends on the printer,
It
how much
depends
of
on
a
the
problem
printer.
that is to switch it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Any other questions, guys? Right. So there are other types of filaments that are available, okay? Water dissolvable, what you would use that, I had a question yesterday in my metal working class. You can do water dissolvable, you can do wax. Typically what I use those for is I make a positive for my molds, I then make the negative for the molds. You need to finish, any of this stuff you're gonna require finishing, okay? Because it's gonna have striations. No matter what you do, it's gonna have striations. I printed out something for Candy for one of her cosplays, and it still has striations on it. So she's got some finishing work that she's gonna do on this, okay? But you can do water dissolvable. If you've got a dual head extruder, okay, what you can do is you can have one extruder that uses the water dissolvable filament to do your supports. You're not going to just, some of these things require supports to hold them up. So I printed for a friend of mine who has a pug. I printed out a flying pug. The wings required to be able to support, okay? Because otherwise the plastic's going to droop and it's going to look really bad, okay? Wax again, metal casting. So either of those two you can use to remove the stuff out of your molds or out of your supports. You can print nylon. Yes, sir.
What would you normally use to save off or get rid of?
I'll get to that in a second, I promise. Okay? Nylon is a pain in the ass. It really is. Okay? I don't recommend anybody using it because it's not a very forgiving filament. It's a pain in the ass. And I'm sorry to use language like that, but it is. You can also do things out of stone. So you've got brick dust. It basically makes the brick dust in with the TLA filament. So you can have things like print out garden gnomes, etc. I have not done anything with brick, but it has the same sort of problem as some of the other exotic filaments. It can score your head. So make sure that you have that stainless steel head. PET I've never used. I just know it's a type of plastic that's out there. Questions? Okay. Okay, so I've spent my money, I've got my printer, or I know what I'm going to do. What do I do with it now? Okay, there are software out there. You're going to get software that comes with your printer. That software is just to control the printer. It is not to do your designs. Okay, it's just going to tell the printer what to do. It's going to take your pretty picture that you draw in another program and create the code that the printer needs to know to be able to do what it needs to do. So there are several packages out there to do your design work in your CAD. There's Autodesk 123D, there's Tinkercad, and some of these are actually you can use, when Brett starts talking about the laser cutter, some of these are dual use. You can actually use them in, I know you can use 123D, I know you can use Tinkercad because it exports the file to be able to cut it.
Yeah, most any CAD you can
Any CAD program. These Autodesk 123D and Tinkercad are very simple. Anybody, if you can do PowerPoint, you can do those. Okay? And I'm pretty sure everybody here can at least do PowerPoint. Okay? Blender, some people use Blender to do theirs. I don't use it. Blender's a little too complicated for me. Blender is not made for 3D printing. It's made for making 3D movies and computer-generated graphics, etc. So I've seen people use it. I don't use it. I use 123D, Tinkercad, and several other tools. Okay? There are tools out there that cost. Maya, 3D Max, AutoCAD. I'm sure people have heard of AutoCAD before. These tend to be pricey, to say the least. SolidWorks, okay, SolidWorks I think is like $500–600, isn't it?
No, try 2,000.
Okay. So when you're talking about CAD programs, some of them are very expensive. So I'm a cheap bastard because I'm Irish and I'm Scottish and I'm also German and Danish. So I go with the free stuff. And made some amazing stuff with the free